Welcome back to the run-up. Women have remained largely underrepresented in the realms of political power throughout Nigerian history. Since the beginning of electoral democracy in 1999, public campaigns, proposed legislative reforms, and internal measures within political parties have attempted to address the gap in gender imbalance. Yet, assessments of the performance of female candidates in Nigeria's most recent general elections revealed a disturbing trend. Women's representation in elected and appointed offices not only failed to increase, but appears to be on the decline. Analysis of data obtained from the Independent National Electoral Commission by a correspondent in Abuja has revealed that a total of 1,524 women will be contesting during the 2023 general elections. The positions include presidency, that's the president, vice president, governorship, deputy governorship, Senate, House of Representatives, and state houses of assembly. The figures were obtained from the list of candidates for the elections as released by INEC. The Federal High Court in Abuja ordered the federal government to enforce the national gender policy by allotting 35% of appointment in the public sector to women. 9 civil society organizations had filed the suit against the Nigerian government on 24th of August 2020, seeking the implementation of the 35% affirmative action in appointment of women into public office. Well, I've been joined by Princess Lillian Odumosu. She is the national president for the Professional Women in Media, and she is a media entrepreneur. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Maureen, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Happy International Women's Day to
Yes.
you.
Yes, a big one.
We also have Betty Abba. She's a journalist and women and child rights activist. Hello, Betty.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm happy to be here. Fine, thank you.
All right, so you listened to my intro. Nigeria is yet to practice what it preaches, and that's the inclusion of women. And we're talking about the 35% affirmative action. What's your take on that? And the fact that the National Assembly yet to pass that gender equal opportunity bill and other bills supporting the affirmative action? Betty,
Okay,
we're starting with you.
Thank you very much. I would say that we've always had an issue with implementation of laws in the country. So it's not just about passing the laws. It's not just about even the hype around the passing of such laws, but the implementation. And when it comes to issues around women, you know that we're coming from a point of view of a deeply patriarchal society. And so there are lots of stumbling blocks in the way. Until we have people that are genuinely concerned about women's advancement in a society like ours, at the highest point of governance, I don't see a very fast implementation of these bills. I don't see a very fast advancement. And that's why during the recent election, there was a need for women to get into the highest point of decision making. Mm-hmm. But sadly, again, there's even a dwindling number of women getting into positions. So it's really a cause for concern. And I'm really happy that on a day like this, we're bringing this very important issue to public bonus. Because if women make up to half of the population of a country, then why are women not even allowed to be equally to have equal representation at every level of governance, at every level of decision making? So it's a thing for concern. And like I said earlier, it's all about implementation. There was a court ruling in 2022 that there should be the implementation of the 35% affirmative action, just like you mentioned. But we've not seen any serious move. We've not seen any implementation so far. And I believe that the more we put this kind of issue in public bonus, maybe we could have, there may be a little silver lining in this dark cloud that we see with regards to women's participation, women's active presence in the arena of political decision-making.
Let me just talk about this court ruling that has not been obeyed. What does that portend, that we have a court ruling that doesn't get obeyed?
So, thank you very much. Yeah, about the court ruling. From my own perspective, I think because we are Africans, and an African man do not respect that integrity in a woman, do not have that fear, or do have that fear for their women, more especially if you are coming up with a lot of things. If you have a lot of things upstairs, a general African man will start or will look for a way to bring you down.
I mean, we're talking about court ruling that a government,
It's
a
still the
democratic
same.
government.
These same people we are talking about, the Africans we are still talking about, the government we are still talking about, they are still Africans because they do not believe in the power of a woman. But it's very, very clear that a lot of women out there are doing a lot of things. A lot of women out there are taking head high because they know their onions, because they believe they can handle that mantle. And they've proven themselves right in every ramification.
Well, the president is leaving. President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is, about to end. What's your expectation from the incoming president with regards to this 35% affirmative action?
They should do that. He should take up from where the president stopped from. The incoming president, and I believe he will do that, because he's a lover of women, because he's someone that respects women so far. In the past, he has given women the opportunity to come up with something, and they did not disappoint him.
But it's the same party. It's the APC party, APC.
See, that is one thing
would wonder
people don't.
Difference
let me tell you
make?
something. People don't realize that when you talk about two people in a party, we have two different characters. We portray two different characters. You might be good as a party leader. The other person might not be good. But because they are in the same party, people want to tag them, the same person. It shouldn't be that. We have all our own differences or our own different ways of doing things. So I believe the incoming president will do better in that aspect of bringing women to limelight, because he had tried it as a governor. He tried it and it worked. So coming up again this time around, being the president, as soon as he's been sworn in as the president of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I tell you, you will see the handwriting will change all over.
You know why one would dismiss that easily? It's because parties are supposed to be known by their ideologies. PDP should be known by its ideologies. APC should be known by its ideologies. Labour Party and any other party should be known by its ideologies. So if an APC government has been in government around for 8 years and hasn't been able to achieve 35% affirmation action, one wonders what will change if that same party continues. We have a president-elect under that party. But let's move on to ask you, Betty, how would you say that women have evolved over time in politics in Nigeria since 1999?
Thank you very much. I sadly, there hasn't been so much progress. For instance, in the last dispensation, in the outgoing dispensation at the National Assembly, for instance, we had 8 women in the Senate. Now, in the recent election, there are 3 women. In the House of Assembly, we have, in the House of Representatives, we have 13 women outgoing, and then have gone, and then we have incoming 14 women. So it's just an addition of 1 woman. So we haven't made much progress. And I think if we are realistic, the focus should be on the party structures, the party that votes men and women into power. And what we are seeing over the years is a deeply patriarchal structure. Most of the big wigs in the political parties are men. Most of the big decision makers are men. And so at the end of the day, the people that succeed in coming up as representatives, both at the Senate, at the House of Representatives level, at the House of Representatives, and at the State House of Assemblies, they are mostly men. So if we're able to dismantle the structure of patriarchy at the party level, the various parties, the ruling parties, the opposition parties, and ensure that we put people in place who are gender sensitive, who are people that are women, what do I call it, people that are concerned and are enlightened enough to know that women should also occupy important decision-making places. That's when we are going to see a manifestation of people coming up at the national levels and at various levels. So it's very, very important to focus on party structures. If not, at the end of the day, we're going to be lamenting and lamenting.
Okay, well, I'm excited that my co-host...
The national leaders of the party.
Okay, Betty, I'm excited.
Hello?
My co-host is a male, and so this is the best time to bring him. Bayo.
Thank you, Maureen.
Talk to us. Talk to us.
Yeah, it's a very exciting day, and I'm quite enjoying the conversation. I would like to stay with Betty because I've heard a lot about patriarchal society. I've heard a lot about African men, but let me just put this first before I ask my question. In the past 17 years, Africa has had 5 female presidents, and almost all of Africa are patriarchal societies. So Mrs. Selig Johnson, president of Liberia, 2006 to 2018, President Joyce Banda, President of Malawi, 2012-2014. President Amina Gub Fakim, President of Mauritius, 2015 to 2018. President Saleh Work Zewde, President of Ethiopia since 2018. She's still the president. And President Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania since 2021. Mm-hmm. So is it really the fact that the society is patriarchal, or there is just something that Nigeria is not doing right?
That is a good question. Lillian, you want to take that up?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Bayo. I think Nigeria is very bad when it comes to discrimination. They see their women as a non-entity, and it's too bad. In every ramification, I tell you, when you talk about marriages in Nigeria, it's that bad. You feel that women don't have a say in the marriage issue. When you talk about the public office holding, sometimes they look at it, she is a woman, a weakling. She doesn't have what it takes to hold that office. And this is just too bad. When we bring out our mentality as men to see the other side of our women, we'll find out things will go smoothly for us in this area, in this aspect of the world. Nigeria will become great. Because take, for instance, in Lagos State, we have some women as the local government chairman. We have women as commissioners, as essays to the governors, and they are doing well. So why would we now think these women are not great enough to hold a big post in Nigeria? Why would they relegate these women? Because they see them as a weakling. And because our mindset is already bad about women. Our men makes us look so derogated that they think we are nobody. We should not have a say in the issue of this country. We should not have a say even in our families. But I tell you, a lot of women have taken up the bull and they are standing to it. They're letting the people know enough is enough. Go everywhere now, you will see women handling things, women feeding families. Women are the bedrock of every most families now in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So why are they now making us look as if we are nobody? Why are they now relegating us to the background? Because we are Africans. They will tell you our culture. What is the culture there? What has culture gone to do with what you are supposed to do as a woman? A lot of women have offices now where they do businesses and they are growing day in, day out, making money for the family. So what are we not talking about?
Well, the theme for this year's International Women's Day is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. And it also reveals that, that's according to United Nations, that 63% of women are using the internet as at 2022, while the men have 69% of usage of the internet. Now, Betty.
Yes.
How do you see
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. How do you see this gap being filled?
Oh, okay, thank you so much. Just like we mentioned earlier, this all revolves around the patriarchy in our society and the roles that socialization plays, whether in terms of the people that are put in power, the lopsidedness in elective and appointed offices.
No, I'm talking
in
about
terms
bridging.
of the representation.
No, at
Yes,
this point.
yes. So this is all the same. What I'm saying is it all arises from patriarchy in the society. The
But
fact
what
that
has
there are
patriarchy?
there are more men.
Betty, what has patriarchy got to do with bridging the technological gap between the men and women? You know, I sometimes, I think. May I just land a bit? Can I just land? Sometimes I worry, as a woman. I love women, but sometimes I worry that women play the victim a lot. I think women whine a lot, and sometimes women should take the responsibility to accept that they probably haven't pushed themselves enough in some aspects of life or in certain conditions, instead of just generalizing that, oh, the men hate us. What's your response to that?
No. It's not just about the men hating us. Chimamanda Adichie, the popular Nigerian writer, will say, you will have to call a problem by its name if you're looking for a solution. So when you talk about access to digital literacy, you start from the home. How many parents want their children to go for science courses? How many parents want even their children, their female children, to go for science courses? I work with young people, especially girls, in informal communities, marginalized communities. There are situations where parents, when they are hard hit economically, would prefer that their girls stay at home and the boys go to school. So even at that level of societal marginalization, you will see even family marginalization, even at the family level. So we need more women, like for instance, the literacy level in Nigeria, there are more women that are illiterate compared to the men or the female. So if we are to get to the roots of the problem, we need more girls, we need to we need to ensure that more girls are enrolled in schools. We need to ensure that more women and girls go for courses that are digitally based. We need a whole lot of policies that encourages women. We need, like we've been mentioning, affirmative action to ensure that women have more access to digital literacy, because we're coming from a background of deep discrimination, and it affects every single thing in our life. It affects us at every single level, at the family level, at the community level, at the national level. So it has to be a conscious process of saying, can we have an affirmative action? Can we ensure that more women and girls enrolled in courses that make them to access digital literacy? It has to be a conscious level. And societies where we've attained some level of equal literacy level, and there is hardly very little marginalization, it came from a point of affirmative action. They are conscious decisions. And so if we're not looking at it from this level, that we're coming from a background of marginalization, which is impacting on our access to literacy, then we are not ready for a solution yet.
You want to add to that?
Yes,
it's not just about victim blaming.
Let me add to what Betty just said now. Betty, you made mention of girl child or women not being in sciences. I tell people, when it comes to education, you don't force a horse to a river to drink water. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. If a child is not good in science subjects, you don't force that child. And that is why most of them, when they get there, they don't know what they are doing. So
No,
by
can I come
saying,
in?
no, I'm
Can I
coming,
come in?
Betty, let me land. You forcing a child or a girl child to key into science subject as a science student, I don't agree to that, because it has spoiled a lot of things. We all have our own, we all have our own different areas in where we are good at. It might be art, it might be sciences, it might be commerce. So just give that child that opportunity to do whatever she wants to do.
All right, I like this debate that's coming up, because that now springs the question:
Can I come in?
must there be
Yes.
a bridging of this gap? Let's take a break. We'll come back, and Bayo, my co-host, will take that up. You're still watching the run-up. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the run-up on Plus TV Africa. Before we went on that break, I've had Princess Lillian Odumosu, a media entrepreneur, and Betty Abba, an activist, discussing the International Women's Day with me. Of course, I have Adebayo Lowake, my virtual co-host, and we've just been joined by Honorable Princess Folashade Olabanjoba, the national chairman of Ikorodu Local Government State. That's the vice chairman, I beg your pardon, of Ikorodu Local Government Area. Princess, you are welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, so before we went on that break, we were taking a look at the fact that 63% of women have access to the internet as at 2022, as against 69% of men. And my two ladies were just disagreeing on it, which led me to asking the question, must that gap be bridged? How necessary is it to bridge that gap? Perhaps you should come in here, Princess Lowoke.
Very important. I mean, I'm a politician, so numbers matters, okay? And so we're talking embracing equity and all that. And so everything must be done to bridge the gap, okay? So wherever we're lacking behind, we must make sure we fix it. You know, definitely the world would be much better, okay? Today we're saying thank you for Johnny thus far. We're not where we need to be yet, but we're not where we used to be either. Whatever it is that needs to be done, it must be a collaborative effort on all of us to make sure that we get the equity balanced up. I mean, I know no country has achieved that yet, okay, but it's still a must do.
Adebayo.
Yes, Maureen, thank you.
Yeah, you want to come in here.
I was enjoying the conversation as usual. I have a question, but before that, let me put something in perspective for that question. According to the Global Gender Gap Report, although what I have is for 2020, I don't have the current one. But for 2020, the following African countries were rated as the top 10 in countries closing the gap, you know, the gender gap. You have Rwanda as number 1, Namibia number 2, South Africa number 3, Burundi number 4, Zambia number 5, Zimbabwe number 6, Mozambique number 7, Madagascar number 8, Uganda number 9, and Tanzania number 10. Now, coming back to the question of technology and innovation and closing the gap, you know, for the girl child. My question, and perhaps because Betty gave some remarks, you know, which began that interesting exchange, and maybe Betty might want to respond to this. In Nigeria, both male and females do not have access to proper science education. I don't think it's a question of just a girl child. We are known as a country that is not very good in the sciences, whether it is male or female. Most of our schools don't have science laboratories. Most of our schools, public schools now, don't have computer laboratories. So given this environment in which students have to learn, does that not impact on whether any of the genders actually have a good opportunity to build up, in this particular field of science and innovation? I don't know how you respond to that.
Can I respond to that?
Okay.
I think it
Thank you
was
very much.
addressing
Thank you
Betty.
very
After
much.
Betty, you comment.
I'm still insisting that this still boils down to our patriarchal system. This still boils down to gender discrimination. Of course, we have issues with sciences in Nigeria, the lack of properly equipped laboratories and all of that. But then at the basic level of the home, the reality is that most parents, and I mean most parents, would want their girl child to go for the arts compared to the way they encourage their boys. When you talk about the average Nigerian home, the parents will say, okay, this boy go become a medical doctor and engineer, and then the girl go for nursing profession, go for teaching profession, so that you can have time for your children when you become married. That is just a reality, except we're running away from this reality. And this doesn't even have to do with whether people are educated, whether the parents are educated or not. It's all about the ways that those parents are fundamentally socialized. I can speak for myself. My parents are not educated. My mom just passed a couple of months ago. And at the end of the day, as a child, I almost lost the opportunity to go to school. I went to school at the age of 9 because my father in the first instance wasn't interested in girl education, but he changed his mind when the girls that he enrolled in school started doing well. But not every girl had that opportunity to have the parents that will have a change of mind. Many parents, and I said it earlier, when they come to the choice of who to send to school when the finances are not there, they send their boy children and allow the girls to remain at home. And I'm talking from my experience of working in informal and under the marginalized communities.
All right.
So this is just a reality. It's about the ways we are socialized. Currently, there are more men, more boys in the sciences, and we have to encourage to ensure that the numbers go up with girls. If not, Betty, we're going to have this issue as a recurrent problem in the country. We have to look at the problem so that we'll be able to proffer a solution.
Betty, it's interesting that you still encounter such in today's Nigeria. However, Princess Folashade, is that the reality that you also have observed in Nigeria today?
Well, I think to some extent she's right. I had a similar experience growing up as a first child.
No, I mean, we're talking from 40 years ago and today.
You know what? If I use Lagos State as a role model here, I think I wouldn't say that in Lagos State, because most of the schools in Lagos State are really way up there. You know, they've been all upgraded and all that, and a lot of the students have more access to all this tech stuff than the other parts, really, of the country. And so, but when she's talking about being more scientific for the men and all that, it's obviously a bit more expensive, raising, you know, the boys to go to school and medical school fees and all that. So women tend to be like, it's easier, quick fix, go to nursing instead of being a medical doctor. You graduate quickly, then you can quickly marry off, and it's off the parents. So she has a point there, okay? But obviously, where the schools are almost free, you have grants, scholarships, and all that now. So really, it shouldn't be that, because both the girl and the boy have the same access. It's just the choices.
I think I want to come out. Princess Folashade, these things are all in the past. This thing Betty is talking about. It was in the past then. Presently, you and I know it. We go extra miles, even as women, to train these children, to bring them up. We go extra miles, which wasn't there during our time then. Parents have changed totally. I tell you, present parents are looking up to their children being up there. Because, one, they want them to be the best. And I said, no parent will instigate on any child to become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. It was all in the past. I could remember when I was sitting, I waited for years before I could get an admission to study mass communication because my father wanted, you can do better as a lawyer. So keep on trying. I was just trying. That is not it any longer. It has changed, totally changed. We as parents, the present parents now, once you ask your child, you even look at that child, you find out your child is good at some domestic work at home. She can bake. Even before that girl or boy goes to the university, you find out you enroll that child in a catering school for that child to have a handwork so that that child will not suffer, because we suffered. And this aspect of making a child to choose its subject, I tell you, it is not it. I could remember when I was in Form 1, we had this French teacher. She was so lovely. She teaches very well. I was able to speak French through that woman. She was there for us Form 2. Even at Form 2, we traveled to Ghana, to Lomé. She took us to Lomé then. The moment she was removed from my school in Form 3, that was how most of us, majority of us, lost interest. So maybe if that kind of teacher had continued with us, then I might end up becoming a French teacher or whatsoever that course would lead me to.
All right, so it's a mixed bag at this point, but we'll take a break, come back and continue with the discussions. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching the run-up on Plus TV Africa. And we have as guests Honorable Princess Folashade Olabanjoba, Vice Chairman of Ikorodu Local Government, Lagos State. We also have Princess Lillian Odumosu. She's a journalist and a broadcast entrepreneur, and Betty Abba, an activist. Well, we're taking a look at today, which is special to women, the International Women's Day, with the theme Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. At this point, I'm going to invite my co-host to take it from there. Adebayo.
Thank you, Maureen. And I want to actually interrogate, so I want our guests to interrogate this question of the process of our politics not favoring women. And what do I mean by this? It sounds light-hearted, but it's actually a fact that when meetings are being called, political meetings, they are usually held at night. I've had this argument, that these meetings are usually held at night. When they're not held at night, even when they start during the day, they are marathon meetings. They take so much time. And therefore, because our women have to multitask, they have to carry out so many functions. It's almost always difficult for a woman in Nigeria to be able to fully participate in all those processes, all those meetings, and so on. And therefore, this discourages women from being actively involved. I don't know how our guests will react to this and how true actually they think that argument is. Maybe Princess Olabanjo would like to start, because she's right
in the middle of it.
Thank you for having me, sir. I think to say that meetings are just held only at night is just part of the stereotyping to obviously discourage women from the space, or not allow the men to allow the women to also participate. But you can't take away the fact that being actively involved takes you away from family time and all that, because you have to be able to be available, most times. And sometimes even at odd hours. But then no pain, no gain. It's not only politics that takes you away at odd hours. Some other professions do the same. So it's just encouraging more women to take the bold step, get in the space, and engage. Right now, the polity, when it is being also heated up, it's also a deterrent, because most times most women don't want to get hurt. And obviously, if you had a daughter or a sister, you would also want to discourage them. But this is the time for us to do all that we can to make sure that women don't become endangered species in the space, because it is really the nation that benefits more when we do have more women that actually positively participate. We're blessed to multitask and handle so much more. And so this year elections, I'm a bit heartbroken because the numbers went down. So much so because it happened to be a much tougher election than it is. So yesterday I looked at the numbers in the National Assembly for the senatorial, just 3 women. The prior sessions, had 6, 7. And so down to 3 is something that it's not a trend we should,
All right.
Yeah.
And in addition to what Princess Olabanji just said now, I think there's this saying that says, train a woman, you've trained a nation. Until our men have that upstairs, that women are very, very vital in the society. Until they recognizes that fact that women are being needed in the society, they will find out that in every ramification of the society, you'll find that a woman doing good, doing better off the man counterpart, the men counterparts. And these are the things. You know something, Mr. Adebayo, in the past, they used to say that a woman politician, it's, in quotes, a prostitute, kind of. But the reverse is the case presently. The likes of Folashade or Olabanji Oba, you can see how she's striving very well to see that she helps a lot of people, not just the women. And so many of her counterparts are there in the society doing the same thing.
Let me throw this question to you. In view of what the Princess Olabanji has said, I would also want to ask you, what do you say to some men who do not hate women but believe that women have their natural roles carved out for them and therefore should play those roles and let the men be in leadership positions, whether politics or any other aspect of life?
Yes, so that also boils down to the ways in which people are socialized. And there's a lot of gender stereotyping in the ways people are socialized in the country. And like I said earlier, this doesn't even have to do with education or lack of it. It's about the ways people are brought up. For instance, we talk a lot about gender-based violence. People who are brought up in homes where they see their parents, their mothers, their fathers beating their mothers all the time, will end up definitely as wife beaters. So it's about how they are brought up. And so, sometimes I think rather than even criticizing them, we have to enlighten them. Let people see the light of the reality of the present age, that what a human being accomplishes in life does not have to do with the gender. Whether the person is a male or female, it doesn't have to do with its sex. It's all about the individual capacity.
Yeah, but ladies, let me, without meaning to take words from your mouth, Betty, we can't also wish away the fact that a woman's life is in phases. We can't wish that away. If a man, for instance, says, okay, I'm marrying this beautiful girl, she's intelligent, she's a career-driven woman, but for the first 5-6 years of our married life, I want her to just stay home, have babies for me, take care of the house, and when the last baby probably is 5 years, then she can go out and work. Is that being marginalizing the woman?
No. It is. That is marginalization. Why can't they share in the house chores? If the woman is able to bear the baby, I mean, why can't the man also help in the house? Why can't they share the roles? Why can't they hire house helps?
Because
Why
a
would
man
it have
is
to be the woman doing 100%? There's nothing that stops the man from cooking. Nothing stops the man from washing plates.
But
Nothing
Betty,
stops them
I
from
think
swapping roles, except
Betty,
maybe in
this is
breastfeeding, which is a
Africa.
biological
This is
part.
This is
Africa.
So
Africa,
no.
Betty.
This is not.
Let me
This is
say
Africa,
something.
but we have to catch up with the rest of the world. You
I
can't.
quite
My
agree with
parents.
you.
Excuse me. My parents cannot train me, and then you want to take away 5 years of my life. Like Princess Folashade said earlier, women are wired to be multitasking. Is it a woman that tells you she cannot combine the roles of bringing up, of bearing children and working? Why would you have to take away 5 years from her life because you married her? This is an individual. This is an individual. You do not own her life. You married her, and this is a partnership. This is not a slave-master relationship. So I don't think this issue of this is Africa and all of that,
Betty,
I don't think it should come to bed here. I don't agree.
Yeah, Betty,
I don't agree.
I'm also going to ask you a
And
question
I
that you
don't think that
probably
it's
would
all
not
men,
agree,
and I
Betty.
don't think that it's all men that have that idea that their wives should take the background. This is about partnership, and it's not about being antagonistic. We have to come to the level where we start reasoning like the rest of the world. Do you bring up your own child and say, let the husband take away 5 years from her life? I mean, sincerely, are we willing to do that?
I do not think that, I'm going to speak for the men here. I do not think that when you tell your wife whom you've just married and the two of you agree that, look, stay home for 5 years. I am not comfortable bringing nannies, strangers to the home to take care of my little kids who cannot tell me when I come back what's wrong. Forget CCTV. There's a difference between a mother tending to her baby and a stranger tending to that child. I do not think that's stealing from her life. And that's what brings me to the question about feminists and feminism. Do you think that feminists are pushing it too far sometimes when they have the kind of opinions that Betty has, or do you think they're okay with such thoughts? Princess Folashade.
I'm probably not the best person to ask that question because I've had my hands full, okay? I've had to juggle so much more as a mother of 7, 6 boys, 1 girl. And I'm still doing what I'm doing.
When did you join politics full time?
20 years ago, this year.
How old was your youngest child?
Okay, maybe 14.
14.
No. I think 14 plus 6, yeah. So maybe 6. My youngest was
6. Yeah, very good. Okay, Lily, I want to add to that.
Yes, I think those two things should not come hand in hand. They are quite two different things. We're talking about marriage and being a woman of your own, not adding your job. Your family comes first before any other thing. You should remember, these children, the moment you derail from taking care of them, anything can happen. Who do you blame? Will you not blame their father? You can't blame their father because everything about the home is meant for you as a woman. So even if you want to add something to it, there must be a way out. And we should all remember that we are Africans. We have a culture. We have our tradition that abides us as Africans. And we should sometimes, when we are derailing, follow these things. We should not take it that far, Western world. And I believe that is what is happening in Nigeria now. When Nigerians talk, they want to talk about the Western world, Western world. Why are we implicating the Western world to our own African culture?
But can I tell you that even in the Western world, there are women who believe and agree with their husbands that, yeah, there's a time for everything. A woman should stay home at some point and then later on pursue her career. It's an individual thing, in my opinion. Adebayo, please step in here at this point.
Well, okay, I happen to have been working before now. I happen to have been working in conflict areas. Not all of those countries were in conflict sometimes. I got posted to places that were not in conflict. But then I had to agree with my wife to say, I'm going to be moving too frequently. if I took my family with me, to affect their education. Because you stay 1 year in one country or 2 years in one country, you change schools so many times. So we agreed that my wife would stay with the children. They will do their primary and secondary schools in Nigeria and finish that, and then whatever happens. And when they finished, my wife joined me and they went off. So I think it's based on agreement between the couple, rather than, I'm not discountenancing what Betty has said, because I know that we still have relationships where that kind of atmosphere prevails. But I think what we should be aiming for here is how to make sure that the couples can agree, and then share the responsibilities in ways that is better for the marriage. But truly, there's nothing that can take away certain specific roles that a woman has to play with the children. Having said that, I just wanted to ask our panelists how they think certain female figures have actually contributed to highlighting the sterling qualities that the female gender can bring. For example, we have Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, who is now Director General of the World Trade Organization. She's the first female Director General of the World Trade Organization. We have the late Professor Dora Akunyili, who became she was synonymous with NAFDAC. And then we have currently Amina Mohammed, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. How much positive influence do you think these women have brought to bear to show the qualities of our women, to show what our women can bring to the table? And how do you see this impacting the next generation of women?
All right.
Yeah, I think when it comes to this aspect of it, these women contributed in their various homes. I could remember late Professor Akoyili, were so close, of blessed memory then. Mm-hmm. When I asked her questions like this, she said, Lilia, do you know what? I still take care of my home. I cook for my husband and children. I have time for the family. And I believe every other woman does that too. Even Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she does that too. And that is why you see them, they respect their husbands. They put their husbands at the forefront. Because they believe in that African culture that a woman should be there for her family. The work women, like Princess Olabanji just said now, women have so many tasks. They've given themselves so many tasks to do, or taxes to do, because they want it. They don't want to be relegated to the background. They don't want a situation whereby they will be asking their husband, dear, let me have money for paper, let me have money for this. They can also do something to assist the husband. And that is why they are booming. And that is why they are going extra miles to see that they are on top of their games.
Princess Falashade.
Yes.
Please add to that before we wrap up.
Well, I think it's all about the understanding. You must be the best, the partnership, add value, prioritize your value system. And in the home, I am very much an African woman. I support equal opportunities for women, but not so much the women's leave staff. So, but the reason why I do
not so much though
with the women's leave, like,
all right,
yeah, okay.
So you're not a feminist?
No,
okay.
But I'm for equal opportunity.
Okay.
But really, my thing is, we must all know reason why we do what we do. For me, is the empathy, the love of the people.
Let me give Betty her chance before we wrap up. Betty, your final words. And are you a feminist?
Like Mrs. Falashade said, I'm just for equal opportunities between men and women, boys and girls. And so what I would say that I've learned from the life of Okonjo-Iweala and Akunyili is that women can break all the hurdles. A woman can excel everywhere they find themselves in the world. But we have to ensure that the right structures are in place. These women were sent to school by their parents, and then they were encouraged by men and women in the system to get to where they are today. And so we have to inspire women and girls to aspire. We have to inspire them to aspire to the highest level of political position wherever they find themselves, as long as they have the ambition to get there. And then we have to also ensure that the right structures are there for their participation at the highest level of decision making wherever they find themselves.
Adebayo, before we go, your final word.
It's been a really thrilling session. I've enjoyed, I've learned, and I know that the future is bright for our women. I think we really have no choice than to embrace gender equity, and I see that happening.
Well, it's been the run-up, and this is a special edition dedicated to women in a way, because globally we are celebrating the International Women's Day. And I've had Princess Folashade Olabanjoba, the Vice Chairman of Ikorodu LGA. I've had Princess Lillian Odumosu, a media and entrepreneur, and Betty Abba, an activist. I've had Adebayo Alowoke, who's been my virtual co-host. I am Maureen Menonwezigwe. Happy Independence. Oh, International Women's Day. How I love my country.
Yeah.
Have a great day.